So while I sit here, before letting the Ryan Ellis trade video get published, I wanted to talk about another piece of news around the hockey world, and this involves the Vancouver Canucks, because about an hour ago, we had ourselves word from Rick Dhaliwal that the Vancouver Canucks are sending Victor Mancini and Tom Willander to Abbotsford. Abby also needs defensemen with long-term injuries to Guillaume Brisebois and Chet Wu. So that's it, eh? Mancini and Willander down. Wu, Brisebois, these guys are injured in Abbotsford, so of course the Abbey Canucks do need some support there. What does that mean for the players that are still on the team? Well, Jessica, she goes out there and asks, D. Petey made the team? Dhaliwal says, yes, he did make the team. Now, quick immediate reactions here, just to these two guys getting sent down. Tom Willander, seeing him get sent down, I'm honestly not really surprised. I didn't think he was, the best player the Canucks had in the preseason. Obviously, there were flashes, and he's young, and there's a lot of development to go through before he hits his ceiling, so that's okay. But I felt like out of the three defensemen, the three young defensemen, Willander, Mancini, and D. Petey, you could say that Willander was maybe the least ready to be an NHL defenseman. And I'm trying to go out there and pull up Elias Pettersson now. Is this the right one? Yes, this is the right one. There you go. Elias Pettersson was very strong throughout the course of last season in the AHL and then into the NHL preseason this year. You got to remember, Elias didn't even play in the AHL playoffs in that significant of a role. He had one game, because the Vancouver Canucks, they didn't really feel it was necessary to send him down and play him for most of that playoff run. They already believed in him enough. Victor Mancini getting sent down, though, that is maybe a little surprising to some, especially when you consider the impact that he was able to bring for Vancouver in the preseason, the flashy style of game that he brings. Of course, though, there are some intangibles that you can label as areas of improvement, and that, I think, is the biggest reason why we are seeing this update today out of Mancini and Willander, both of these guys getting sent down to Abbotsford. Now, before we continue our conversation, I just wanted to acknowledge some of the replies here, because a lot of people, they were going out there and talking about how, hey, it's got to be Arshdeep Bains who gets sent down. Rick, why is Bains still on the team? Mancini earned his spot on the big club. There are a bunch of replies. Why is Bains still on the team? Well, because he won't clear waivers, and they don't like losing players for nothing. Unless they have a trade brewing, they might just be giving him a good look while Hagens is out on a different system, because everybody kind of sucked under Rick Tocchet last year. This also was discussed on the R Canucks subreddit. They went out there and posted the Canucks tweet that Mancini and Willander have been assigned to the AHL. Top reply says, in my opinion, Mancini has been the best defenseman between EP25 and Willander and deserves to be on the roster. I feel kind of bad for him. The power of waivers is all. They gotta protect some other assets. EP25 doesn't need waivers either, though. Loose Manufacturer says he's earned a roster spot. You can definitely argue either way between Mancini and Elias Pettersson, and obviously the coaching staff know more and have more insight. Elias Pettersson also has a larger body of work from last season. I think Mancini has an intriguing ceiling given his skill set and was looking forward to seeing him up with the big club, but I'm sure we will, shortly into the season. I think this, by Bacon Bit Pooh Bear, is the telltale sign of how things have unfolded. He says here, Elias Pettersson is a safer player. Victor Mancini plays rover a bit. You don't want that in a bottom-pairing defenseman. And, big shout-out over to Christopher Lundqvist, who went out there and subscribed to the YouTube channel. I really appreciate that. If I'm going to be honest, I think Mancini outplayed Elias Pettersson. Mancini earned it over EP25. They do play different styles. Elias Pettersson is more hard-nosed and stay-at-home. I guess if you're looking at a bottom pair, he is better suited. You could make the argument of Mancini over Forbort, but you really need his toughness and willingness to fight, since losing Dakota, and Kane doesn't really fight anymore. Mancini's in a tough spot. The Canucks have been very cautious with young players, and they don't want to pair two young players together on the bottom pair. hence Forbort's reacquisition. Elias Pettersson seems to be a fixture on that third pairing, so that leaves Mancini as the first call up. Now, there are some more debates as to whether or not it was the right decision to keep DPD over Mancini, but I ultimately do think that the styles are the reason here. Elias Pettersson is just more solid, and you have a more dependable defenseman there, rather than Victor Mancini, who plays a lot more of a flashier game. Take a look at this over here. It sucks that Mancini got sent down, but this probably means that Braden Coots makes the team to start, and they weren't willing to risk Bains and Karlsson getting plucked on waivers. Am I out to lunch thinking there's a little chance of Bains or Karlsson getting claimed? It's not like they had great preseasons. I think Karlsson gets claimed in a heartbeat, Tim Tebow MLB says. Right now, the likelihood is low, Stick and Rink says. Every team has their own Arshdeep, Bains, and Linus Karlsson. But I also wanted to dive into this as well, because with the moves today, the two players getting sent down, it technically means Arshdeep Bains, he made the team. He's up, so is Karlsson. This commenter goes out there and asks, hey, why don't we trade Arshdeep Bains? Top reply says, how much trade value do you think he has? Because he's basically worth nothing on the trade market. He had 3 points this preseason, made excellent plays against Hughes in the scrimmage and McDavid to strip them of the puck, showed value on the PK, power play, and 5v5, had a great high-skill play on the PK that sparked a 2-on-1, then made a beauty play around Mrtka to get Sass in a goal. He had like 2 posts and a couple of slick passes where his line mates ended up hitting the post as well. I agree, Bains shouldn't be in the top 6, but he has shown continued growth every single year on the team. I wouldn't cry if he got waived, and he does need to produce, but I understand them wanting to see if he can turn the corner. He's improved physically in basically every facet since coming here. I think it's fair to see if he's plateaued or not before giving up on him. Him, Karlsson, and Sassy were the Abbey Canucks' best players, and Bains outperformed them all in this preseason. He's not going to have trade value. Either you waive him or play him. If Höglander was healthy, Bains is probably not on the team, and if they make a claim, he probably gets sent down. So, for Arshdeep Bains, I do honestly agree with the assessment here. I don't know what it is, man. People don't seem to like Arshdeep Bains all that much. I guess it's because of some of the chances that he missed or the passes that he fumbled, but just in terms of the flair, you don't necessarily see that out of Arshdeep Bains. You see more of just a guy who plays the right way, especially when he doesn't have the puck. Ultimately, I do think that Arshdeep has a lot more value than many Canucks fans are giving him credit for, really. Cosmic Jerry said, I really don't get what they see in a single-point player that is Bains. Yeah, sure, he can play AHL hockey, but he just can't seem to figure it out at the NHL level. Another reply says, look past the points, he plays a solid game. They'll come. People like the flashy plays, and Bains is not really a flashy player. That's also why Mancini is so well-liked despite the flaws in his defensive game. Flashy plays don't win games, but they do win fans. So, I think that's the biggest conclusion we can have here when looking at the news today. Mancini and Willander are down, Bains, Elias Pettersson, they're up, and this seems to be the way the Vancouver Canucks want to start things out for 25-26. I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these roster moves and these decisions? If you enjoyed this video at any point, feel free to hit the like button. If you did not, then hey, the dislike button's down there for you as well. Comments help out with the algorithm, so I'd appreciate it if you got involved in the discussion there. What are your thoughts on these roster moves? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.